Aren't we lucky enough to have heard that original recording of a man from 1564 stepping out of his tent during a weekend camping trip? Quite phenomenal. Hello and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. I hope you've all had a lovely week. Any news in the Shakespeare world? Not particularly. I guess it's been, well, we've had Pride, London Pride weekend. Probably Shakespeare. I'd imagine he would have turned up to that if they had Pride back in the day. Maybe they did. Not for me to say. I'm sure he'd be going along. Probably would have a float, waving his Pride flags and sort of, representing. What else have we had Shakespeare wise? You know what, I'm just gonna look, this is all live. I'm just gonna go onto Google. This is an advert for Google, and just put in Shakespeare news this week. Let's see what they say. Shakespeare news this week. West Midlands pupils celebrate Shakespeare's female characters. Oh, that's nice. Sort of just a little celebration of his female characters there. And then what else we got? Shakespeare play has run cancelled. Oh dear. And free Stratford-upon-Avon festival aims to make Shakespeare fun. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. At least someone's bloody trying. I've been giving it a go for the last 111 sonnets. Maybe they'll get me along to help them out. Anyway, so that's Shakespeare news. Maybe we'll make that a segment every week where I look up Shakespeare news. Bit dry this week. Wouldn't say the best week for Shakespeare news, but hey, we'll take what we're given. Right, let's dive in to look at Sonnet 111. Oh, for my sake, do you with fortune chide, the guilty goddess of my harmful deeds, that did not better for my life provide than public means which public manners breeds. Thence comes it that my name receives a brand, and almost thence my nature is subdued to what it works in, like the dyer's hand. Pity me then, and wish I were renewed. Whilst like a willing patient I will drink potions of eisel gainst my strong infection. No bitterness that I will bitter think, nor double penance to correct correction. Pity me then, dear friend, and I assure ye, even that your pity is enough to cure me. So there we have it, Sonnet 111. I guess the last few sonnets have been about him sort of not being a great lover, a great partner. He's been doing a bit of cheating, a bit of infidelity has taken place, and he's apologised for that, really, on the whole, in a sort of roundabout way. He's sort of agreed that it's not a great thing to do. This one is interesting. My first thoughts are, it's like maybe sort of, who's famous? Tom Cruise or someone like that has written a sonnet, and it's about fame and kind of being in the public eye, potentially, and how that's actually really hard. And they wish they weren't. You know when celebrities do those little interviews and they're like, oh, listen, it is tough. It is tough being in the public eye. But you know what? I chose that life. This one is a bit like this. Seems like he's a bit annoyed. Shakespeare's a bit annoyed to be criticised or scrutinised by the public, but he is a writer and potentially an actor at that time as well. So that's my main takeaway from this one. Let's dive in line by line and work out what the hell Shakespeare was going on about in Sonnet 111. So we start with, oh, for my sake do you with fortune chide, the guilty goddess of my harmful deeds. And this I'm reading as, oh, obviously it starts with O, so my interpretation is, oh, like that. Oh, for my sake, blame fortune, all right? Because that goddess is guilty for the harm I've done. It's fortune. It was my fortune. That's the problem. All right? So blame her. And then he continues with, that did not better for my life provide than public means which public manners breeds. So fortune has given him this life essentially in the public eye. She has exposed him to the public. And being so exposed to the public, it's sort of affected his morals, essentially, and his behaviour. And he doesn't seem very happy about it. And it's got me thinking, yeah, wow, so back then he probably was pretty famous at this point. And we do think that he was an actor as well as a writer. So he would often, and I say we, I mean us scholars, us Shakespeare scholars, we like to think that he trod the boards and he would perform in some of his own shows. Probably giving himself the main part, isn't he? He's not going to give himself Spear Carrier number 2. He's going to play Macbeth. He's going to play Hamlet. And who can blame him? They're great parts. You would give it to yourself, wouldn't you? So, blame fortune for the public life that he has, which has made him sort of morally corrupt and sort of messed up his behaviour. Thence comes it that my name receives a brand. So this is why he has a bad name. This is why his name has been branded, or it's been stained. And almost thence my nature is subdued to what it works on, like a dyer's hand. So he's saying here, I think, the fact that he's coming into contact with the public has polluted his nature and stained it and subdued him. And then, of course, because it's Shakespeare, he pops in a little metaphor there. He says, like a cloth dyer's hand becomes stained with his dye. So, it's his profession, it's his life to dye cloths. And the side effect of that is that it stained his hand. So, like Shakespeare, his life is in the public eye and his life is performing to the public. But they, in a way, are staining him. That's the life he's chosen. And it's tough. Pity me, then, and wish I were renewed. So here he's addressing his lover and saying, look, please take pity on me, all right? And hope that I can be renewed, that I can be refreshed and almost born again in a way. I think of this as, whilst like a willing patient I will drink potions of eisel against my strong infection. So here he's saying, like a willing patient, he will drink. Now, eisel is a type of sour potion. So potions of eisel, which is a sort of people thought of as acidic. So acidic potions to fight against this strong infection that he has, this problem of the public influencing him and making him a bad person. No bitterness that I will bitter think. So I won't whine, I won't moan about how bitter the potion is, even if it is really bitter and tastes horrible. I won't whine about it, all right? I'm just going to drink it up. I'm going to be a big boy and drink up my sour potion. Nor double penance to correct correction. So here he won't even refuse more punishment if it helps to cure him. So, he'll take double penance if it helps, if that does help. Obviously just the once would be great, but if I have to, I'll drink more potion and take more punishment. And now we're on to the final couplet. Pity me then, dear friend, and I assure ye, even that your pity is enough to cure me. Oh, that's a nice little final couplet, isn't it? A bit of a rhyme there, ye and me. Very nice. We don't often have that. So he's telling his friend, he says friend, but really we know it's a bit more than that, don't we, at this point? So pity me, dear friend. He's telling his friend to pity him and to assure his friend / lover that your pity is enough to cure him. So Shakespeare's going, look, if you pity me enough, that will cure me. So I guess he's thinking of pity as really caring for him. So it's much better to be pitied than to be just sort of left alone. Because I think of pity as a bit of a, oh dear, you sad, you poor bastard, like that. And that doesn't really invigorate me, and that probably won't make me change who I am. But apparently that's how Shakespeare rolls. He likes to be pitied, and that really drives him on. So good for him, you know. It's different for everyone, isn't it? They're drivers in life. So there we have it, the line-by-line breakdown of 111, written by Shakespeare or Tom Cruise. You decide. Life in the public eye can corrupt you. It can really mess you up. And even Shakespeare was saying this. You know, hundreds of years ago, he was saying, God, it's really quite tough actually being in the public eye, and it sort of affects your behaviour and your morals. In a way, I can really imagine this, a celebrity saying, yeah, look, it's tough. I did cheat on my partner because, look, it's hard being in the public eye. All right, it's stressful, and I had to cheat on them. It was the only thing. My brain wasn't, quite in the right place, and I can imagine that being an excuse. And Shakespeare's using it here, so it's a tale as old as time. Right, I think it's about time we put this to our story. And if you remember last week, Shakespeare has said to, who's he with these days? The Earl of Southampton, that's right. The Earl of Southampton. Shakespeare said to the Earl of Southampton, look, I've done some bad things. I haven't been great, all right? And I'm sorry. And the Earl of Southampton, he's annoyed, rightly so. And he says, well, look, there's only one thing for it. And Shakespeare says, absolutely, I'll do anything. I still love you. And Earl of Southampton drags him through the streets, takes him to St. Paul's Cathedral, where they go in, and the Earl of Southampton makes him confess to the priest in a little confessional box. And that is where we left off. So Shakespeare actually confessed by reading a sonnet, and he had old the Earl of Southampton next to him, and he did this big confession saying all the bad things that he's done. So we'll see how that's received, one by the priest and two by the Earl of Southampton. Has that won him back over? Shakespeare finishes reading Sonnet 110 to the priest and the Earl of Southampton. The priest says, thank you so much, Shakespeare. And Shakespeare says, oh, hold on, I thought this was a sort of anonymous thing. You're not meant to know who I am. And the priest says, oh, well, no, I know, because I actually saw you a couple of weeks ago. At the Globe, you were playing bottom in 12th Night, and you gave a really good performance, so well done. And Shakespeare says, that's annoying, because this was meant to be, that's annoying that you know this about me now. Damn. And the Earl of Southampton says, it's okay, Shakespeare, he's fine. He's not going to tell anyone. And the priest says, no, you're right, I won't tell anyone, I'm very discreet, I'm a very discreet priest. And then the priest says, and I think it's amazing that you're saying all these things, you're confessing, and I just want to let you know that you've been forgiven. And Shakespeare says, oh, well, that's great. That's really good. And the Earl of Southampton says, yeah, that is great. Well done. Well done, Shakespeare. So sometimes it's as easy as confessing, isn't it? Just you can do all these bad things and then confess, and it's all okay again. And Shakespeare said, yeah, you know what? There's something in that. It's quite a nice system that the church has going on here. And then Shakespeare and the Earl of Southampton embrace in the confessional box, and the priest applauds them. It's quite a weird little scene, actually. And the Earl of Southampton says, I'm really proud of you for confessing, and I forgive you. You know what would be lovely is if we had a nice little evening to ourselves and just got to know each other again. And Shakespeare says, yeah, that would be nice actually. And so they step out of St. Paul's Cathedral, but word has spread that Shakespeare was confessing in St. Paul's Cathedral. Don't know how it got out, but the rumour spread, and there are hundreds of people outside the cathedral, and they're all going, oh, Shakespeare, Shakespeare, oh look, there he is, it's Shakespeare. Can you write your name on my arm? Have you got a quill? Have you got a quill to write it? And everyone's shouting and asking for his autograph, and someone says, oh, can you kiss me on the cheek? And Shakespeare's sort of taken aback a little bit, and then he says to the Earl of Southampton, look, I'm gonna have to do my thing here. And the Earl of Southampton says, Shakespeare, it's fine, just make it quick. And Shakespeare goes into the crowd, he signs some autographs, he has his own quill for that, and he kisses some people on the cheek. A little bit weird, that one, but the Earl of Southampton sort of lets it slide. And then everyone says, Shakespeare, we're going to the Nag's Head for a drink. Won't you come with us? We love you so much. And Shakespeare says, oh, I wish I could, guys, but I got a date night tonight with the Earl of Southampton. And everyone goes, oh, come on, Shakespeare. We're your fans. We love you. Maybe read us some of your sonnets. We love them. Or we could do one of your plays. We'll just listen to you talk all night. We love you so much. And Shakespeare says, oh, all right then, guys, come on, let's go. And with that, he takes off to the Nag's Head, leaving the Earl of Southampton standing on his own on the steps of St. Paul's Cathedral. He's fuming, of course. They're meant to have a date night tonight. The Earl of Southampton goes home. Shakespeare goes to the Nag's Head, and he has quite a few pints. Everyone is loving him. They're adoring him. They're saying how incredible his plays are. They're asking what the next play's about. He tells them it's about this man that's having a tough time, and then sees his dad as a ghost, and it's quite a little bit scary, but he's having this mental turmoil, and everyone thinks, wow, that sounds like a really fun comedy. And Shakespeare says, no, it's not a comedy. It's a serious play. And everyone loves that idea, and they think, yeah, that's cool. Wow, you're amazing, Shakespeare. Eventually, at 1 a.m, Shakespeare walks home. He stumbles along the cobbled streets and lets himself in through the door. And in the kitchen, the Earl of Southampton is waiting for him. He said, what time do you call this? We were meant to have a date night tonight. And Shakespeare says, yes, now look. Oh, man, the public. Ooh, boy, the public. Sometimes you just got to do it, you know? And the Earl of Southampton says, no, I don't know. You could have just come home with me. They'll forgive you. And he said, no, they sometimes don't forgive you for not hanging out at the pub with them. Sometimes they don't. And then no one will come to my plays, and then we'll be poor. And the Earl of Southampton says, so look, you'd rather go off with the public, would you, than me? That's insane. And Shakespeare says, look, I know it's insane. And I'm sorry, but I'm a celebrity, and you got to do these things. And the Earl of Southampton says, honestly, Shakespeare, I feel sorry for you. And Shakespeare says, yeah, it is tough. And he says, no, I really feel sorry for you. I think you're pathetic, sucking up to the public and letting them control you. Shakespeare says, well, I did actually write a sonnet about how hard it is to be in the public eye, and actually you feeling sorry for me. I'll just pop that on the end. Actually, it's quite a good little finisher, a little final couplet. And the Earl of Southampton says, I don't need another sonnet, Shakespeare. I'm telling you that I feel sorry for you and that you're pathetic. And Shakespeare says, I know I am, but listen, I'm going to read it anyway. And actually there's a few people outside few fans that have sort of followed me. So maybe if we sort of open up the door and just they can hear it as well, just it's good publicity. The Earl of Southampton starts storming out. But the crowd outside is quite large and he can't actually squeeze through the bodies. So Shakespeare pulls out Sonnet 111 and shouts after him and to the crowd in front of him, Sonnet 111. Oh, for God's sake, please blame fortune. That goddess is guilty for the harm I've done. She gave me a life that exposes me to the influence of the bloody public's behaviour and values. That's why my reputation is stained and my nature has been subdued. Like a dyer's hand is stained by the cloth he works with. Pity me and wish that I could be renewed. Like a willing patient, I will drink sour potions to cure this infection. I won't whine about the horrible taste, I promise. I won't refuse even more punishment if it helps to cure me. So pity me, dear friend. I promise you that your pity will be enough to cure me. So there we have it, Shakespeare and his adoring fans and this horrible relationship that he has with the Earl of Southampton. He's really not treating him well, but I guess in this sonnet he's saying that he'll drink some acid if it helps, which is quite a bold statement to make. Let's see how that is received by the Earl of Southampton and, of course, the adoring fans that are waiting outside next week on the final couplet. Until then,